organization in Jamaica. Welcome, lady and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Starting off with you, Ionie. Very quickly, can you just reiterate why you're here in New York and the purpose?
Okay. And I need to give you a little reminder that I'm not the chairperson, but the CEO of the Seed for Life organization.
Okay.
Okay. And my purpose here in New York is to get help from my fellow Jamaicans to purchase an ultrasound machine for the Princess Margaret Hospital, the parish of St. Thomas, which I'm personally a friend of the hospital along with my group, Seed for Life.
All right, wonderful. Dr. Batchelor, could you please introduce yourself to the New York audience for me?
Well, I am Dr. Cecil Batchelor. I am the Senior Medical Officer at the Princess Margaret Hospital in Morambay, St. Thomas, and that's about 35 miles from the capital city of Kingston.
Uh-huh.
The Princess Margaret Hospital has 129 beds, and it serves a population of roughly 100,000 persons. Our accident and emergency department sees about 20,000 persons per year, and we deliver roughly 1,200 babies per year. That is a Princess Margaret Hospital. It is called a Type C hospital in the government system, which means it's a parish hospital. It's the only hospital in the parish of St. Thomas. And we have a general surgeon, and in fact 2 general surgeons, myself and another person. We have 2 gynecologists, and we have a physician, we have a visiting pediatrician. So it's not really a specialist hospital, but we do have specialists in those 4 areas who work in the hospital.
Okay.
And for the longest while, we have been without an ultrasound machine, which would be very, very helpful to us in terms of handling trauma cases. That's when patients come in with accidents, motor vehicle accidents, gunshot wounds or stab wounds. It will assist us in telling whether or not they have internal bleeding, for instance.
Yes.
And it's especially helpful in obstetrics because, of course, we need ultrasound to tell if the babies are growing properly inside their moms. And this is especially important now that we have the Zika virus in Jamaica, because you might have heard that in certain instances, when women have been infected with the Zika virus and they deliver babies, the babies might have small brains. We call it microcephaly. So an ultrasound machine is of really, really importance to us from that point of view. And of course, it's used for other things as well. It's one of those bits of equipment which basically is standard in all first world hospitals, whether they're large or they're small. But in our setting, because of financial constraints, the government is not able to provide them in all the hospitals. So we are really, really very grateful when we have groups like Ionie Roberts, Seed for Life, coming in to try and help us.
Yes.
Because this is a piece of equipment that is extremely useful to us. And if we depend on the budget that we get, we perhaps wouldn't be able to purchase one for ourselves for a long, long time.
Yes, yes. I am really, really so, should I say, ecstatic, because I was told about Ionie. Someone referred Ionie to me, and I said certainly I needed confirmation so that this interview could be made possible. And I also wanted to use this platform to air to the audience globally. Though I'm situated in New York, Dr. Batchelor, but you know, we offer all the social platforms, not to mention the World Wide Web, to why we would like persons with a heart to be able to donate to the hospital so you can have the opportunity to purchase the ultrasound machines. You mentioned about, you know, having pregnant mothers having an ultrasound. I am going to ask the question, but I am somewhat hesitant as well, because have you ever had a case whereby you really needed to have an ultrasound for an expectant mom and you had to rush her off to another hospital somewhere?
Oh, that happens. That happens very often. It happens very often because of this standard of medical practice that we are supposed to have. Even though the hospital doesn't have a machine of its own,
yes,
when we do see the need for patients to have an ultrasound examination, they are either sent to a private place in Kingston where they have to pay, and not all our patients can pay. And for those who cannot pay, we have to try and beg time in one of the major hospitals, Kingston. And that's, as I said, 35 miles away, right? The road is not so wonderful. It's very tortuous, full of corners.
Yes.
And for patients who are very sick, sometimes it actually traumatizes them further that take that trip when they're very sick. That's something that we have to do from time to time. That's not fair at all.
Now, can you just give us an inside view of the operations of the hospital on a daily basis, from your vantage point?
Well, on a daily basis, we have outpatient or accident and emergency department that is open 24 hours. It sees roughly, I said, 28,000 patients per year, which means that we're seeing 2,000 plus patients per month. We have patients on the wards. I mentioned to you that we have 129 beds. So we have a children's ward, we have a maternity ward, we have a medical and surgical wards, and we have our team of doctors who are seeing patients who are admitted to the hospital. When patients come into an emergency, those who we deem too ill to treat and send home are admitted to the hospital, and we will see those patients. We also do a number of surgical operations on patients, inclusive of trauma patients, again, the ones who come in who have been shot or stabbed.
Yes.
We do cesarean sections on mothers who cannot have their babies normally or naturally. We do operations on the stomach and the intestines for patients who have cancer or ulcers in the stomach. So we do a fairly wide range of operations. For highly specialized operations such as on the head and of course on the heart, those patients will be transferred to the bigger hospitals in Kingston.
Right.
So the Princess Margaret Hospital is the first stop for almost all persons who are ill in St. Thomas. And for those who we cannot manage ourselves to completion, we go through the first principles, whether it's first aid, or treat them and stabilize them and transfer them. A number of patients who will treat ourselves. Somebody comes in with gallbladder disease, we do the cholecystectomy. Somebody comes with appendicitis, we treat those patients ourselves. Right, so we do a number of surgical operations. Patients who come with pneumonias and other infections, we treat those patients.
Okay.
Right now we're preparing, as I said before, for we have ourselves to handle the new emergency disease. We had the chikungunya disease 2 years ago that really went through St. Thomas very rapidly, affected almost everybody.
Yes.
And we had to treat quite a few of those patients. Those who required inpatient care and those who required outpatient care. And we have been treating a few patients who have had the infections with the Zika virus. Luckily for us, we haven't seen anybody as yet with any of the marked complications of the Zika virus infection. And we sort of keeping our fingers crossed. But in the meantime, we're actually preparing ourselves in case any of those patients turn up with complications.
Yes. Now, I'd like
It's
to...
a fairly busy hospital.
It's busy.
For its size.
I'd like to ask Ionie.
Yes, here.
All right. Now, Seek for Life. You are now trying to assist Dr. Batchelor and the hospital to get this ultrasound machine.
Sure I am.
Now, here you are in New York, and there are so many people listening. And Dr. Batchelor has so ably given us an insight on the need for the ultrasound machine and the daily operations of the Princess Margaret Hospital. See Life, how are you trying to network as well? Because I believe, Dr. Batchelor, in order for this drive to really be effective, there's going to have to be some networking going on.
Right.
Networking is the key, and there are medical facilities in Jamaica that we know we're always very concerned when we read the news here,
Yes.
how the medical system is almost frazzled. People are complaining, people are just not able to get the medical treatment they need. People have been flying out the country, and we have really good doctors in Jamaica.
Sure we do.
It's not that they're not great doctors there. So Seed for Life has to now start networking Ionie. You were here on Thursday, and there was a connection here while you were here, and that was a blessing in disguise. And there are also other organizations too that will be able to assist you if you ask. Now, may I ask what strategies you're putting in place to this effect?
Okay. A person who has the heart and wants to contribute to Seed for Life organization and the Princess Margaret Hospital, via our account number is at Bank of Nova Scotia in Smart Bay, St. Thomas, and the number is 819-270. That's 819-270, Bank of Nova Scotia.
Yes.
And also, for persons who would like to contribute, like medical supplies of such to the hospital, my contact number here is 754-802-1884. And
that's 876?
No, it's not an 876 number. I'm here now, so that's the number that I use now. For the Jamaican number, it's 876-342-6802.
All right. Could you repeat the 754 number again?
754-802-1884.
Okay.
And for the Jamaican number once more, it's 876-342-6802.
All right, Dr. Batchelor, how can you get people to really be sensitive about your need of the ultrasound machine? And it starts with one. Who knows? There are people who are listening who might be able to donate a machine to you, or several machines that you perhaps will have to donate to somebody else.
Well,
good.
Yes.
it is not very difficult. Once they have the will, they can always contact us at the hospital. They can call the hospital at 876-734-0293. They call me on my own personal number. It's 876-317-9928. In St. Thomas itself, we have been trying to network with patients. We talk to group service clubs. We talk to persons who we think could be willing to donate. Unfortunately, St. Thomas has been impoverished over the years.
Yes.
We haven't got any large companies in the parish who we can go to for donations, right? There are small groups of persons who, from time to time, assist us with small items. The ultrasound has proven to be a difficult one for the parish itself because it's not cheap, and therefore the persons who might be willing to help in terms of giving large donations are not there. But at the same time, we do encourage, as Ionie Roberts is doing, persons to give what they can, because of course it adds up, you know.
Yes.
Right.
So anybody who can give small donations, it's still quite welcome because it all adds up eventually. Right.
Now,
So really, yes, go ahead.
No, I was about to say to you that you mentioned about the fact that the parish is known to be an impoverished one. Now,
Yes.
your patients walk into the Princess Margaret Hospital and they have to be seen urgently. How do you handle that? Because
Well, we have a triage system. A triage system means that we prioritize those patients. The patients who have conditions which are life-threatening are usually seen first. That can create a bit of a problem for other patients who are waiting, because sometimes they themselves do not understand that we have to prioritize, and it's not a first come, first serve basis.
yes.
Right, so the matter of triaging is actually an international standard, because I know it's used in first world hospitals as well.
Yes.
Right, so you come in, for instance, and you've been in a motor vehicle accident, chances are you're going to be seen before the other persons who have been waiting, as long as their conditions are not urgent.
Yes.
Right, and because of the government policy, we don't collect fees from patients at all, so that doesn't cause a delay. Persons do not have to worry that when they come in, they are not going to be seen because of any sort of constraints, because the government has a policy whereby people are allowed to come into the hospital and get treatment for free.
Yes.
Right?
I would just
So our constraints really have to do with the type of equipment that we have to use to diagnose. So if there's a delay in diagnosis, it really has to do with whether or not we have the appropriate piece of equipment to assist the doctor with the diagnosis, but not in terms of seeing the patient.
Okay, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, you're just tuning in. Those of you who are tuning in via the Facebook Live, you are also on Linkage Radio 101.5 FM and all the other social platforms. I'd like to welcome you this afternoon. We're trying to bring attention to you, those of you who are watching and listening, that the Princess Margaret Hospital in the parish of St. Thomas, Jamaica, West Indies, they are desperately in need of an ultrasound machine. They have had to be turning patients away, diverting them to other financial institutions, and they are also very concerned about the expectant mothers who it is mandatory that they do an ultrasound to determine if the child, if the fetus is growing normally, and they really would love your help. I am looking at those on Facebook, and my voice is being echoed across the globe. We would like you to help them to get an ultrasound machine, because Dr. Batchelor, I wonder when you go home any given day, what it is like for you after you have to sit back and assess your day, knowing that you need this equipment. Can you speak to that for me?
Well, it creates a certain amount of anxiety, I must say, and a certain amount of discomfort, right? On average day as a doctor, I will have seen a number of patients, I will have treated a number of patients, so I treating patients generally and watching them get better brings a certain amount of satisfaction. So I'm not going to say that at the end of a day I am always totally depressed, right? But it's a mixed feeling. It's a mixed feeling. There are always those you think you could have done a better job with if you've been able to get a diagnosis at that particular point in time. And sometimes you just have to wait until the next day when this patient comes in, like today on a Monday, for instance, and you have made what we call a clinical diagnosis.
Yes.
You want to confirm it with an ultrasound, and it's not available. You might not get that ultrasound done for another 24 or sometimes 48 hours. And that does cause a certain amount of disquiet and depression.
Yes.
So getting the machine would help, not only in terms of assisting the patient, but it will certainly help to make the doctors feel good about the work they're doing, right, and also assist them in wanting to remain in St. Thomas to continue on doing the job that they were trained to do.
Yes.
Because
yes.
people do move, you know. Sometimes people get very uncomfortable with the fact that they haven't got all the facilities that they would like to have.
Yes.
So they're in the hospital and they go to other hospitals.
Ionie, I'd like you to just share very quickly with your experience, because you also needed an ultrasound done some time ago.
Sure. Because that is the reason why this come into play, and I take it to my directors at my company. Because at one point, I too need to do an ultrasound, and it take me over a month to do that because the financial part of it, I was unable to provide the fee that was charged. And I was all the way in Kingston anyway. So it takes me a while to get that ultrasound done. In a case that when I went back to the doctor, he almost forgot.
Oh boy.
So that's the reason why I looked into this thing and I said, guess what? There are many more out there like I am who need this type of attention.
Yes.
And can't afford it. So it's like it becomes a burden to me, because even now when I'm sleeping, I jump up out of my sleep, but I'm sleeping with that machine on my mind.
Oh my goodness.
It becomes a passion.
Ionie.
That's the way I feel, because I know when I was in that position, I feel my children were worried because I couldn't finance the case.
Yes.
So I took it to my directors at the Seed for Life charity group, and they were saying that it's a task, and I said we're going to do it and we're going to try. I rather try than don't try.
At all.
And here I am after 1 year. We had a prayer breakfast to launch this, so I started out with the prayer. And even Dr. Batchelor was at that prayer breakfast. It was well supported by the staff from the hospital.
Yes.
So they are with us 100%. Guess what? I don't want to fail them. I am doing everything in my power with the help of God and the persons who have that heart just as I am. I know we will get it. I tell myself that we might get even more than one, but at the end of it all, we will get it. Here in America, it's not easy for me. Trust me, it's not easy, but guess what? I am not going to give up. I am going back home with that machine or the money to buy that machine.
Yes.
One way or the other, we are going to get it, and that's how determined I am.
And I believe it's going to happen. It is going to happen.
It will happen.
And with persons like myself and others who are listening, and I have already mentioned it to a few people, and there is someone I saw online too, who I know she has family from St. Thomas, and she's also a nurse. So I'm going to reach out to her at the end of the show and find out,
I'm glad everyone mentioned as well that we attended the prayer breakfast, because I wouldn't want people to get the impression that the hospital staff is not in on it in both a theoretical and a practical way, because we ourselves have also contributed first to the appeal.
Yes. Brilliant.
We're looking forward to the completion.
All right,
so
Ionie. Thank you, Dr. Batchelor. Ionie, I'd like for you in a very timely manner once again to provide the audience with the account number at the Bank of Nova Scotia and the contact numbers.
Okay. Our account at the Nova Scotia Bank in Montebello, St. Thomas, the number is 819-270. Repeat, 819-270. My contact number is 754-802-1884. In Jamaica, it's 876-342-6802.
And Dr. Batchelor, your telephone number?
Okay, I can be gotten by calling my personal cell phone number, 876-317-9928. And if persons cannot get me on that number, they can try the hospital number, which is 876-734-0293.
Okay. Now, I am going to propose that we will now commence our discussions on how we can actually set up like a telecon drive. All right. So this is really to sensitize the audience about your need. Now we're going to have to come back at a mutually convenient time to do a drive and to really help you to raise the funds as well.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Dr. Batchelor?
Okay.
Yes, because everyone is hearing. I have taken down the account number for Bank of Nova Scotia. I have both your contact number and the number of the Princess Margaret Hospital. But it is going to work. I want to know that even people here who are traveling home and they are down in St. Thomas and something happens to them, and you know, they can't get an ultrasound done. More so, we are trying to do this for the residents of St. Thomas and other communities. At some point in time, once you're fully equipped, also be transferring patients to your hospital as well.
Oh, yes.
Right.
You follow? Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's how we have to look at it, that people really need to be taken care of, and
At all times.
at all times. I really appreciate you both making it happen today, because I wanted this. We here in the United States, we talk a lot about how our medical system in Jamaica has broken down. It's now time for us to start the repair process.
Well, we do appreciate your concern.
Yes, and it has to be done.
We look forward to further
It has.
communication.
I thank you both, Dr. Cecil Batchelor, Senior Medical Officer, Princess Margaret Hospital, for spending the time with me. Ionie Roberts, you are the CEO of Cecil for Life, and your organization is doing all it can to assist the Princess Margaret Hospital, and I'm sure other hospitals across the nation.
Yes, but our own is first. We're going to deal with this first, and then we spread our wings.
That's right. That's how it's
Okay.
done. Thank
Right.
you both for
Okay.
joining me today.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we do
All right.
appreciate your serving us.
Yes, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining me.
Okay.
All the
Good.
best.
Thank you.
You're most
Okay.
welcome,
Okay,
Ionie.
then. Good.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.